And you are listening to KWMR. We are supported by Marin Sun Farms, featuring a full-service butcher shop and steakhouse on Highway 1 in Point Reyes Station, offering rib roasts, ham, bone broth, and gifts like tallow soaps and hand-tanned sheepskins. Holiday turkeys can be reserved by phone or visiting the shop. Lunch and dinner offered Thursday through Monday. Online at marinsunfarms.com. KWMR is also supported by the Tamales Bay Resort and Marina in Inverness, offering waterfront lodging, a private beach, boat launch ramp, solar-heated pool, and electric vehicle chargers. Fogg's Kitchen and Lounge is located on site at the resort, featuring waterfront dining, weekend brunches, local specials, and space for local event needs. Information at tamalesbayresort.com and foggskitchen.com. And you are listening to Let's Talk, call-in radio. The number to call, let's see here. Okay, this is Let's Talk, getting to the root causes of the important issues of the day. This on-the-air community forum believes your voice matters and welcomes all thoughts and views without judgment. Please join today's conversation by calling 415-663-8492. And today's exciting topic is...
Reproduction.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the topic?
Reproduction.
Oh, I see.
And basically human reproduction. I mean, we could talk about how climate change and chemical loads on the environment are affecting the fertility and reproductive cycles of animals, but mostly it's going to be about us because, we're so special. And so, yes, 415-663-8492. And when you call in, you'll hear a little scratchy noise as Shelley puts you in the system. Hang on until she says you're on the air. And then turn your radio down, give us a name, and please keep the language clean.
Paul, I just want to remind you
as if you're talking to your grandmother. Yes.
Yes, this is a program non-judgmental.
Oh, really?
Just want to remind you of that when you're talking about this subject.
Why? What do you think I'm going to say? No, it was spurred, so to speak, on by an article that I saw, which then, when you start delving a little deeper, you find out they've been writing about this for 20 years. Sperm shortages. Britain, part of the problem with the Brexit deal, if they don't make enough arrangements by the time Brexit comes around, they will be facing a shortage of sperm in Britain because they get a lot of their sperm from Denmark. The world's largest sperm bank is in Denmark, apparently. And from the U.S. as well. But, yeah. And then it turns out that all over the world, but especially in rich countries, wealthy countries, men's sperm count and the health of the sperm has been dropping. Sperm count has dropped by over 50% in 3 decades, I think, 30 years. And they've been tracking, 40 years. Yeah, they've been tracking it. And nobody really knows why. I mean, there are a lot of factors. Alex Jones in InfoWars says it's the government and feminists trying to make soy boys out of men by feeding them lots of soy. Lots of tofu. It's all the tofu eaters.
Yeah, those poor men. They just can't refuse the tofu.
Estrogen, high estrogen influence on them. And yes,
dear.
So it's a conspiracy there. But
well, have they done
but
studies?
Also BPA, all the estrogen mimicking hormones
in
chemicals
beef,
in
right?
everywhere in the
Milk.
environment. On your I'll talk about this again, BPA on your receipts, your ATM receipts.
I wonder, have they done an analysis of sperm count based on class? I wonder if it has to do with class structure too.
So
Diet.
elaborate.
I haven't seen that.
What are you thinking?
Well, I think that in certain countries, the sperm count is fine. That's high. I shouldn't say fine.
Well,
It's high. That's normal. Let's say that. And in some countries, it's like you said, it's lower. I just wondered whether within a country where it's lower, it was class. It might have to. If you're talking about
to do with poverty and the
food that you're eating,
diet, absolutely,
exposure to toxics,
more chemicals in the environment in our country than in Tibet, I'm guessing. But apparently it's worldwide. I haven't seen any. Maybe somebody knows. 415-663-8492. Maybe somebody knows if other countries, maybe not the wealthy countries in the world, are experiencing the same thing, but as far as I can tell, it's worldwide.
Mm-hmm. What about the relationship of our cell phones? Men carrying cell phones in their pockets.
In their pockets.
Yeah.
That's right.
What else? Yes. Anyway, it's tight jeans. Oh, there's the other one. Tight jeans. The fashion of wearing tight jeans is because the testicles are very sensitive to heat, and so climate change as well.
Oh.
So we need to, or not us, because, I'm let's face it, that time is gone almost. But young men need to wear floppy pants, not tight jeans, especially in hot weather.
Well, you guys, we have a caller, so let's see who it is. Caller, you're on the air, and remember, please watch your language and tell us your name. Hello?
My name is Barbara Scott.
Hello.
Hi, Barbara.
And regarding your topic,
Yes.
the aluminum that has been coming down from weather warfare for 70 years, and the best thing for people to do and act is to go to the website geoengineeringwatch.org.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Thank our present fire last October, but for 70 years, hurricanes, droughts, fires have been sending down these destroying elements into people's bodies.
That's really
And
scary, huh?
You mentioned aluminum. Is it the aluminum that's doing it?
Absolutely part of it. That's just only a part of it. And hurricanes and droughts and earthquakes, all 70 years. Please watch geoengineeringwatch.org.
How do we protect ourselves from this?
Good question. Barbara, how do we protect ourselves?
We can ask our galactic friends to please come now.
Save us? That's tough, though. If that's our way out, we are in big trouble.
Yes.
And galactic friend, not God. You mean other
Galactic friends, many, many, many. Please, everyone, read Sananda.website. That's SANANDA.website. They have said over and again, we shall be coming soon.
Oh, yeah?
but in
that be?
galactic time, though, is a little different from our sense of time, I think, isn't it?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Soon for them might not be soon enough for us.
Well, is it so terrible that the sperm count's down? I mean, really, when you're talking about reproduction, it seems like we've got enough going on right now.
Yes.
Yeah. This is just my point of view. I think there's plenty of us, and I'm guessing it's nature's way of saying, hey,
Well, if you look at the birth rate, though, it certainly hasn't in any way curtailed very high reproductive rates in especially underdeveloped nations. They're having lots of children. I did a calculation of somebody I know from her grandmother's, from her mother's loins, issued 100 people from just one couple, and that's in just 3 generations.
Wait a minute. Oh, I see. You're
okay, 3 generations.
Yes, in 3 generations.
100 people.
One woman did not have 100.
No, it's in 3 generations. It has 10. Her children had 8, etc.
So, Barbara, do you think the Galactic Friends will say that we have enough people and they'll help us figure that one out, or?
Oh, it's all peace and love and trust and faith. Please read messages from our friends on the Sananda website.
Lovely. Well, thank you, Barbara. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So, yeah, there you go. Geoengineering. I mean, we know that there are companies who want to engineer the weather for our own good. It's possible.
Do we know that? I mean, they don't talk about it openly.
Oh, yeah. There's companies that call themselves geoengineers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I wish
They
they'd
have
engineer a
conferences.
little.
They have conferences about it, international conferences.
Call them and engineer a little rain here.
No, well, that's part of what they try to do is create rainfall and by seeding up there. Anyway, so your point then is that the dreaded brown people are having too many babies? Is that what you're really saying? That
No,
it's
that
the
isn't.
poor countries who are having too many babies? That's why the world population is rising?
I think that if you just compare birth rates between the developed world, which particularly Europe, United States, and now China, if you compare the birth rates there with, say, sub-Saharan Africa, Central America, etc., you'll find that the birth rates are still very high. If you're talking about reducing the world's population, I'm just saying look at the places where all the people are coming from. I'm not judging them by their skin. I'm just judging by the numbers. That whole thing, skin color, is a whole different subject.
I'd like to see some data on that.
On what?
On
birth
what you're
rates?
saying. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I'd like to. What you're saying?
Okay.
So poorer people. Let's put it that way. How about that?
And there might be
poorer
good reasons
people
because
are having more children.
Childbirth might.
One of the
infant mortality rates might be higher. So
and maybe they don't have cell phones in their pockets.
Exactly.
If they're poorer.
I think there are cultural reasons, too, in terms of this machismo and all that kind of stuff measured by the number of children
and
you
the
spawn.
churches and the
Churches, exactly. Don't start picking on me.
I was just trying to tease out your point of view. One of the places where... so here's another thing. Another piece of data is that birth rates are going down. They've halved in wealthy countries, so to your point, except in Israel, where they have the birth rate is still up. It's still about 2%. Everywhere else, like here in Europe and other fairly wealthy countries, even India, the birth rates have gone down to something like 1.2. It's almost
exactly
half what it was 20 years ago. But in Israel, they've kept the birth rate up, but they're mostly doing it through in vitro fertilization because their sperm counts are dropping too.
Well, also in Israel, you have this group of people who are ultra-right religious people who feel it's their duty to repopulate the earth with Jews, so they're busy having as many children as they can. So you have that element there also.
Well, there's also the Catholic Church has a similar
Yeah, that's right.
approach.
Only they control all of South America, Central America. They're a big force now in Africa. But, what they project is that we're going to have 2 billion more people on the planet by 2060. 1 billion of them are going to be in sub-Saharan Africa. And another 1 billion are going to be in India, 2 places that could use them the least. So when you consider that, and all of a sudden we're not going to just hit 2060, somebody's to ring a bell, and all of a sudden 1 billion people are going to emerge. That process of that growth is going to have, I think, profound effects on life on the planet.
Hey, everybody, you're listening to Let's Talk Call-In Radio on KWMR and Point Reyes Station. If you'd like to call in and get in on this conversation about reproduction, you can call 415-663-8492. We'd love to hear your point of view.
Yes, what do you think the reasons are for... actually, of course, sperm count is not that super important. It's about sperm health and all that as well. Because there is a vast overproduction of sperm to account for the unhealthy ones and the ones who are kind of...
Oh, that's interesting.
Not viable anyway, or not very strong. So that there's this vast overproduction. It's gone down by about half what it used to be, but it actually shouldn't make a difference because there's a huge overproduction of sperm in the male, so that there's a whole lot of die-off, and there's a few that get through and one that is selected. Hopefully, if there's two, then bad things happen. So anyway, but so it shouldn't make that big of a deal, but apparently it is. And what has been happening over the years with when couples have trouble with fertility, it's not blame. It hasn't always been blamed, but it's usually about the women not being able to bear children. And of course, we know a lot more. Apparently, I didn't know this. They know a lot more about women's reproductive systems than they do about the production of sperm.
Well, they're a lot more complicated.
And so they, obviously they blame the women for not being able to have children, but usually. Or not usually, but at least half, I think, maybe a little less than half. Did you just make
that up? Or?
No. Well, just what I've been reading in the past week. It is very often laid at the doorstep of the man. He's not making the right sperm for the right egg.
Well, we do have a caller, everyone. Caller, you are on the air. Please watch your language and tell us your name.
Yes, my name is David, and as a strict pro-degradationalist, a term coined by Donna Sheehan and Paul Raffel years back, which basically says the quicker humans get off the planet, the better off the planet will be.
Right.
And I think this is all a good thing.
You're all for sperm unhealth.
Yeah. Sperm health is healthy.
There you go.
Depending on who you are.
Yeah,
also an observation about the people in third world countries. Their sperm counts may be healthy or not. I'm not sure, but bear in mind that they are all downstream from the wealthy countries who are forcing their industrial waste, etc.
Yes,
downstream to the poor countries. We've been shipping off our recyclables to China, which has now said, no more. And
they have enough recyclables of their own, enough trash. They don't need ours.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So, and of course, the chemicals that we're producing and the pollutants that we produce do not just stay in our countries. They're spread throughout the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, David, if you're connected to your computer, could you just Google the subject of sperm count in developed nations versus underdeveloped nations and see what they come up with? Sperm health, sperm count?
Yeah, do our work for us, would you?
Well...
That's what you get for calling in.
Lip, huh? Why don't you call this program Back Talk?
Oh.
Okay. Anyway, thank you all very much. Carry on, and maybe I'll call in later. Who knows?
Thank you,
all
David.
Right, Dave.
Have
Thanks
a good
for calling.
day.
Yeah, well, you talk among yourselves. I'll check out it. If you like.
Excellent.
Dear.
Excellent.
Reproduction. Hey, did you guys hear about, I haven't checked this recently, but I heard that in Japan, the young people were actually choosing to be celibate.
Well, now, here's another factoid.
Okay.
Young people everywhere are having less sex with each other. Let's put it that way.
Interesting.
You mean the same sex?
No,
or with each other, you
with
say?
each other. Yeah, I mean, they're just not indulging in one-on-one
Not as
sex
interested?
as much.
Not as interested?
So, something to do with the internet, I think. It's just
Interesting.
easier that way. Yeah.
Silence.
So it's
That's
like
a very curious thing.
It's like all these incel guys, all these men's groups that are coming up that are right wing and hate women. That's what they're doing. They're just sitting at home and being onanistic, to put it that way. Put it biblically. Spilling their seed on the ground.
Oh, dear.
Cue every sperm is sacred from my
Every sperm is sacred. Of course, I should have put that on. I didn't put that on. Well, anyway, talk among yourselves for a minute. Carry on.
Well,
dear.
do you remember the Erickmans or the population bomb that came out in the 60s when I think it was really a discovery, a revelation after the war. All of a sudden, people said, "Hey, look at all the people." You had that population bomb, and there was a lot of discussion. And then they had something called the Green Revolution, which was the idea that all those people out there are going to need to be fed, which led into Monsanto and chemical farming with this notion of we've just got to feed the world. Then you had Earl Butz came along and said plant corn, hedgerow to hedgerow. Do you remember that? Earl Butz? Nixon.
I guess I'm the young one here. I don't remember. But we do have a caller. Let's check it out. Caller, you're on the air. Please watch your language and tell us your name.
That was me.
Oh, caller has just stepped into the studio. Okay, we will hook you up.
I realized that the speakers were on in the studio, and then it would have made an echo.
Oh, very good.
And so I hung up and just came in.
Yes, such a
okay. Have a
professional.
seat.
But women have problems, too, that I don't know what the causes are, but it seems like a lot of young women have endometriosis and adenomyosis.
Endometriosis, terrible thing.
There's another thing with another name, which Paul Raffel could look up. Where the uterine lining... Yes,
Get on it,
look
Paul.
it up because you are the...
What am I looking up, though?
I'm going to tell you that when the uterine lining is growing into the muscular lining of the abdomen.
And on the outside of the
something like
ovaries and everything instead of inside.
adenomyosis or
Maybe
something
Dr.
like
Gale
that.
is listening. Dr. Gale?
Yeah, Dr. Gale, call in. So I just wanted to bring that up as another, what appears to me, I am not a doctor nor am I a statistician, but a kind of not uncommon. So that is another thing that seems to be maybe on the rise. Adenomyosis, is that
Let me see if I can.
Well, I
Paul,
just
get
like
on
to postulate something else.
Yes.
In this business of mind over matter, perhaps people are thinking their way out of fertility.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to have children.
They're doing it later, having children later in life.
I just wondered
Fewer
whether.
children.
Yeah, I just wondered if it can be a connection between mental. I know we can control our body quite a bit through our mind, and I'm just wondering if we can control our reproductive organs as well.
Well, apparently we can, especially through chemicals. Better living through chemistry.
I was just thinking mentally. Am I really off base?
I've never been able to control.
Well, I don't know exactly what you mean. I mean, I don't think mentally people said to their body, ruin my reproductive system.
Well, they might say to their body, lower my sperm count or my healthy sperm.
I'll tell you what they say. They say, I can't afford but one child. We can't. I have a lot of friends who have just one. Because that did not used to be a factor. People had a lot of children on purpose to have little helpers on the farm. And now,
Right.
They died in childbirth, a lot of them, as did the mothers. But, yeah.
I think like Mahler had something like 13 siblings, Gustav Mahler, and they all perished, maybe but one.
Yeah.
But anyway, the idea that our society has changed so much, and we're so urban, more urban driven, and people are waiting longer. Women are waiting longer, I think, really, to have babies. Mm-hmm. And so then, maybe there's only time to have the one baby, and that it's just too expensive.
Mm-hmm. To have children in the
some
in
people
this
are
country.
Undaunted by that factor. Like, we'll make it work. But other people are really careful. Fiscally, they're more cautious, or whatever their reason is.
They're paying more attention to the numbers. Yeah,
and they just have one child.
So, to your point about adenomyosis is a gynecologic medical condition characterized by the abnormal presence of endometrial tissue, the inner lining of the uterus, within the myometrium, the thick muscular layer of the uterus. When endometrial tissue is present abnormally entirely outside the uterus, it is considered to be endometriosis. So, yeah.
Wow.
Very painful.
And it's on the rise?
I know young women who have this. I know young women who have, I don't know. I just wonder what the causes are of that.
Right.
Our
environment has been heartily abused by corporate entities for so many years now. In a way, it's kind of not super surprising that we're having physical problems.
Yeah, and is it part and parcel? This is just really speculation.
I wanted to say that. It's all speculation. Thank you.
But think about how many people can no longer really tolerate grains or wheat, or things with gluten. Think about that.
And glyphosate.
It does. Well, exactly. So you wonder, what I wonder is the correlation between...
Right.
My daughter, for example, has adenomyosis, if I'm saying that correctly, and she has celiac disease. She has both things.
Oh, boy.
So you wonder. A person wonders.
Yeah, but we're talking about reproduction, and I think the real subject is reproduction in those areas who are giving birth to the most people. Again, this business of the population explosion, which is like it's a rock coming down the side of a mountain. It gains momentum. It's exponential. If you just want to sit down and think for a few minutes what it means to the planet to have 2 billion more people by 2060, or another billion by 2030, however you want to do the math, I think that we're talking about, profound, and then add in global warming, the storms, intensities, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, it's going to
flooding.
Be a terrible thing. Part of the reason, it's a good reason that fertility is dropping, in my humble opinion.
Well, we're gonna do a little station break here and read our underwriters.
Thank you.
Okay,
thanks.
I just want to say I want to get the last word on you, Steve Hurwitz, by saying the uterus is also the sexual reproductive system in it, and that's why I brought it up, because of the effect of whatever on, because the way they take care of this and is adenomyosis is you go on the pill.
Ah. Well, I just want to know if this is a first
Shelley.
world problem or a worldwide problem.
I'm seeing, all the headlines anyway are saying sperm count falling dramatically in developed countries. But
there you go.
What does it mean? I'm not reading the actual articles, and I haven't seen anything about. They have said worldwide, but maybe when they say some of the articles say worldwide, they mean developed countries. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to read the underwriters now. Media support for KWMR is provided by the Point Reyes Light, family-owned since 1948, providing local news every Thursday in print and online. Open Monday through Thursday in downtown Inverness, with information on classifieds, subscriptions, advertising, and more at ptraiselight.com or at 415-669-1200. We are supported by our listeners and by Nick's Cove Restaurant and Cottages, located on the shores of the Tomales Bay, an historic, award-winning restaurant and bar with 12 restored private cottages. Nick's Cove is open 7 days a week, serving local oysters, cheeses, and farm-to-table cuisine with fresh produce from their on-site garden. Reservations available at 415-663-1033 or at nickscove.com. Station House Cafe is serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner in downtown Point Reyes Station since 1974. The Station House Cafe is a proud supporter of KWMR and all things local, offering live music, garden dining, cocktails, and more. Information and reservations available at 415-663-1515 or online at stationhousecafe.com. And you're listening to Let's Talk Call-In Radio. We're talking about reproduction all over the world. And we'd love to hear your perspective, so give us a call at 415-663-8492.
So here are some graphics for birth rates, not fertility, but birth rates around the world. Yes. Reproduction. Sure enough, sub-Saharan Africa, not the highest in the world. Actually, Somalia, Ethiopia, some parts of northwest Africa, Niger is high, Mali is high. What do they share in common? Islam, I think.
Yeah.
But elsewhere, for instance,
Sure, there may be
in
a
the U.S.
rural population as well.
Well, exactly. But South America, Central America, South America is about the same as the U.S., a little bit higher in some places, like Venezuela. A little bit higher in parts of Central America. Mexico, not so much. Mexico, very low in Canada, Russia, China. Interesting. Japan, Australia, and Europe. The whole of Europe is all one dark color, meaning 8, somewhere around 8%. Whereas in like Mali and Niger, it's 46 births. It's 8 births per 1,000 populations. In Mali, for example, it's 46 births per 1,000 population. So,
We've got a caller.
Okay.
Caller, you're on the air. Please tell us your name and watch your language.
Hi, this is Robin, and I always have to watch my language.
Thank you, Robin.
Hi.
Hello.
So I'm sorry I didn't get to hear the beginning of the show, but I did want to comment a little bit about, I did hear Paul's comment about worldwide, and an article I read about 7 years ago, a series of articles called Not So Edible on GMOs. I was able to interview and spend time with a Dr. Don Huber, who was actually with Homeland Security for actual security regarding food supply. And he's an agricultural scientist. He's a former, I think he was a colonel or a captain in the military, a Republican, and he started to sound the alarm about what was happening in areas where they saw glyphosate, which is the active ingredient in Roundup.
Right.
And that he predicted then, he said, you mark my words, you will see a big decline in fertility rates and sperm count in developed countries where glyphosate is being used. And he said that then the glyphosate will get into the groundwater and the air, and it will continue to spread throughout the globe. And he said, as people are all excited that teen pregnancy rates are dropping, what's really going to happen, because they were seeing massive problems with miscarriage in cattle, horses, pigs, sheep that were around where glyphosate had been or were eating feed that had been sprayed with anything containing glyphosate. they were having miscarriages, lack of fertility. And then he also just started at that point in time doing research on people who live in these areas. So that definitely has stood out to me as I started reading studies about sperm counts dropping. And I think in Japan they have like bounties on men with healthy sperm counts. Because in Japan, as you know, they very, very much want to remain pure. They don't really want outsider DNA. So, young men with high sperm counts can make a lot of money there now.
Yeah.
It's a new industry.
Interesting.
Apparently.
Well, yeah. Oh, sure. Well, the fertility industry as a whole, fertility clinics, $17 billion a year. It's big business.
I remember
very expensive, to make it happen.
IVF, yeah.
Yeah, what, Robin?
I was going to say, I remember in my 30s, a lot of my women friends who had waited till the 30s to have children, I would say that at least half of them had to go through in vitro. And I thought that was really odd because I didn't, growing up where there wasn't that much access to birth control and in a pretty Catholic area, people were having, 4, 5, 6 kids, and they were having kids well into their late 30s.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, wonder why that is. Is it just the age thing that women are waiting later?
There's a correlation between obesity and difficulty in getting pregnancy as well. Dr. Gale wrote a piece on that, and turns out women who can get themselves to a healthy weight have an easier time of reproducing. So we do have an obesity epidemic in the United States right now, and that might be contributing as well.
Well, and if you do any research into the effects that glyphosate from GMO-modified foods has on our bodies, obesity is one of the things on the list that is impacted.
That's true because Dr. Huber said that one of the big problems with the glyphosate is it upsets the gut flora and fauna so badly, which can lead to obesity.
The microbiome.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and diabetes. Most of the illnesses that we consider food-related.
Everything.
The Green Revolution.
Yes,
Monsanto's
make us all green.
Monsanto and Bayer. Wonderful.
Well, didn't they come at the beginning, though? It was sort of like high-minded.
Oh,
We're going to feed the world.
Anyway. Yeah, of course. GMOs, yeah, of course. Yeah, it was going to make everyone give enough food for everybody.
Well, it didn't start out with GMOs. It started out with DDT, I think, and then
getting rid of all the insects.
Fertilizer.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I met some gentlemen that worked with Bill Nyman starting the turkey business that he has, that one of them actually worked on developing what I call the Franken turkey, the giant broad-breasted turkeys. And he was talking about what his mindset was with the Green Revolution coming along, and that he wanted to correct his karma by starting to work with heritage turkeys and to spread the word that they were high-minded and well-meaning, but they had really screwed things up.
Yeah. Yep.
Another thing Charles can blame on the baby boomers. He blames a lot of what's happening in the world on the baby boomers.
Sure.
So he could blame us for that too.
Of course.
Well, I think, that's
it's
a great point. The idea of acknowledging we made a mistake, Right. So if we can acknowledge that we made a mistake in our efforts to make things better, that was the ultimate goal. How can we, make this better? But
it's hard it's for a corporation to say something is a mistake. It would mean that they are not making money off it.
Yeah.
It's not profitable. That's all corporations are for, and that's all they want to know. So Monsanto doesn't think it made a mistake. Nor does Bayer, because they just bought them for billions of dollars. So.
Right. Well, I think they made a mistake, and I try really hard not to buy those kind of products.
Sure. Yeah, don't do it.
How do you? It's inescapable.
Organic wines in our region of our wine country, they all came up with glyphosate in them, because it's so...
Yes.
It's ubiquitous.
It's inescapable.
Now.
Yeah, because it's everywhere. It's in the air and the water. And So then how do we adapt? But I think, it's always going to boil down to capitalist corporate culture never going to be healthy because they make money off of infertility. They're making money. If corporations control and money controls your ability to reproduce, what a boon for those guys.
Yeah, of course.
It's a great win for them.
So when Bayer starts buying clinics for reproduction, then we'll know that the circle has come full.
Oh, I'm sure they're making the drugs. I'm sure they're involved in the labs that are doing that.
Well, I'm just going to make a pitch real quick for fermented veggies to combat the problem. And then build up that gut biome. Eat your fermented veggies.
So
we've got Wild West ferments, right?
Wild West ferments,
they're great. I love the Moroccan beets with
kimchi,
my beans.
That kind of thing.
They have kimchi. They have cortito. They have
great
a number
sauerkraut.
of. What's that?
Great sauerkraut. A variety of sauerkraut. And do you know the kimchi? They actually will sell the juice, leftover liquid from the kimchi. I think they call it fire brine. If you are getting a cold, that will knock it out.
I'll go get some right after the show.
And
thanks for letting me call in. Paul, did y'all talk at all about how this might be a benefit in terms of the planet being overpopulated?
Oh yeah, we have talked about that. In fact, David called in and reminded us of pro-degradation and how
I remember that.
it would be better. The sooner we're out of here, the better it would be. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're taking all the other plants and animals
this is
with
the
us.
thing. So, but the idea behind pro-degradation was not to conserve, not to recycle, just
use
do
it up.
more of it. Use everything up that keeps us going. We'll be out of here. There might be a few other species left behind. Because the way we're doing it now, we keep saving ourselves and we keep finding new ways to survive and reproduce. And we're just driving how many species per day out of existence? Yeah.
Who discovered penicillin? I think that's where it all started.
Yeah.
What is that? Where'd that come from?
Penicillin?
Yeah.
Penicillin came along and it drastically reduced infection. Which would
humans, yeah.
Yeah, in humans.
Right.
Yeah. So people started living much longer because infections were...
He's got a lot to answer for.
He has
Lister.
a lot to
was it
answer.
Lister? No, who was it?
Was it? No.
I can't remember.
Will somebody call and tell us who that was? Because Paul's too lazy to look it up.
Oh.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for doing the show.
Always
Thanks for
nice to
calling
hear
in,
from
Robin.
you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I forgot to ask her if she was still in Alabama.
Yeah, she is.
Well, if you want to get in on this conversation about reproduction, please call 415-663-8492.
Yes, and of course there's the thing, one of the worst crops you can eat if you're not eating organic is soybeans.
Right.
One of the biggest. And here's an interesting thing, just a little political note here. Ted Cruz talked about those tofu. We're not tofu eaters in Texas. What is the biggest crop in Texas? Soybeans.
Oh, interesting.
Anyway,
Soybeans have a nasty history as it is. We're destroying the Amazon so we can plant soybeans as well.
It's heavily sprayed, and it's one of the first GMO crops because everyone loves soybeans and tofu, and it's a staple crop throughout the world. They put it in, they make other things out of it, like monosodium glutamate and all kinds of derivatives. And so, soy boys. That's what they call them. Here's the term soy boy is as common on the alt-right as cuckservative and snowflake. Soy boy isn't a term one encounters in National Review and the Weekly Standard, but alt-right outlets, Alex Jones' InfoWars, to the misogynist Return of King's website, have been a frequent source of anti-soy conspiracy theories. There you go.
Well, to say something for
addicts.
Alex Jones, I think you're being too hard on the guy. Well, when he was,
it's just his radio personality.
When they were kicking him off Facebook and all these social media, he said, "This is just entertainment."
Yeah, exactly. Well, he was
stuff.
He was trying to get custody of his children when his wife was going through a very nasty divorce with him. That's why he went to court.
I take it all back.
It's just my on-air personality. It's not who I really am. Oh, really? Okay.
Well, it's mean-spirited and inciting.
But there is a concern because soy does contain estrogen. It does raise estrogen levels in the body, and apparently. One marker of the difference between men and women, apart from the obvious other things, is the distance between your hoo-hoo and your between your genitals and your taint. And I've forgotten the name. It's where they have to cut when you're giving birth.
Placenta.
No. Between your genitals and your I can't. What word can I think of? Your anus. There you go.
Okay.
Your anus. So that area is shorter in women than it is in men, and they've been studying boys being born, and that area is getting shorter.
Interesting. The perineum.
The perineum. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Can't come up with words sometimes.
Me too. I understand.
But soybeans, it could be partly that. It could be environmental. It could be geoengineering.
The film that I went to see, Secret Ingredients, it's really all about GMOs and the impact that it has on our bodies. At the beginning, one of the researchers in the film, she and her husband were triathletes. They really cared for their bodies as well as they could with what they knew. And then her husband had developed lumps in his breast tissue. Mm-hmm. And they determined that it was from eating soy. They ate a lot of soy because at the time, it was determined to be, a healthy thing to eat, alternative to more meat or whatever. Right. Yeah. So when she realized that the soy was impacting her husband, and then he stopped eating soy products and it went away, then she started looking into other aspects of their food and their health. And but I really recommended them. The film actually has just been released on DVD, so people can buy it.
What's the name of it?
Secret Ingredients is the name of the film, and so I think that's also the name of their website, probably. Yeah. I highly recommend it.
Is it a bad idea that that our fertility rates are going down, that our birth rate is going down
I would say,
species?
Based on the smile on your face and the twinkle in your eye, I would say...
Well, other people. Let's hear from other people. Call in, won't you? We know that David is a confirmed pro-degradationist, as he said.
415-663-8492. Got a few minutes left to let us know what you think about reproduction. What's going on with our reproduction?
And the human species. Should we be concerned that our children, our boys, our baby boys, are becoming more feminized, or is that a good thing? Hey?
Well, I think that it's just the tip of the iceberg. What's happening to our reproductive systems is just part of a bigger issue that's affecting our health overall. And it's just
chemical load in the environment.
So I'd like to know, is this this business, we're talking about human reproduction, but do the same things that are affecting us, are they affecting other mammals?
Big time. Well, mammals, maybe. Robin was talking about the cows and things. Certainly reptiles and frogs. What's their group?
Amphibians?
Amphibians. That was one of the first things they noticed, was that down on the Gulf and down at the mouth of and deltas, coming out of agricultural zones, alligators, there were birth defects, and fish and amphibians were changing sex, or there were no males being born, or they were evolving other ways of doing it, of creating children, or just dying out. Alligators' penises apparently are shrinking. Yeah, and part of it, of course, is that women are on the pill and other
flushing all these things down.
Like it comes out into the toilet, out into the rivers.
Oh my goodness!
And there's estrogen everywhere in the world, so we're becoming estrogenized. Is that a terrible thing? I don't know. I regardless of whether it actually impacts, because they're going to come up with a way. In fact, they have come up with a way to do it without men.
But who's going to do the heavy lifting? Oh yeah, robots.
Yeah, that's what robots are for. That's what all the where are we having Mali? That's what all the Malians are for, and that's why we have to breed them down there. We have to keep them breeding.
Oh dear.
Well, no. When you think about it, though, Germany is so open to immigration because they're running out of a labor force. They need people to work. They don't have as many people.
Same here, except they're.
Yeah, that's right.
We hate them now. And,
they're doing things,
strawberries?
Doing things that no one wants to do.
Very foolish.
So speaking of solutions, scientific solutions, in vitro fertilization, of course, but still requires sperm cells and eggs. Scientists have discovered a way of taking skin cells from anyone, making them become stem cells somehow by some terrible process, no doubt, but they become stem cells, and then they can be induced into becoming whatever you want them to be. So you can make viable eggs from stem cells and viable sperm from stem cells. You combine them, come up with the zygote, you implant the zygote in the womb, out come babies.
A perfect replication of yourself if you did both. If you did both,
became
egg and
if the egg and sperm came from one source.
They're talking about same-sex couples now, and infertile couples will be able to do that. Right now, it's just experimental. They've done it with mice, and the mice have had baby mice, and they have been viable baby mice who have then gone on to have children on their own. So it's actually a viable way of continuing our species. This is what I mean. We're just going to keep finding ways to do what we do, and we'll still be here, and there will be no other species left. Anyway, that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, how lovely for gay couples who want to have children of their own. They won't need a surrogate anymore. They won't need somebody else's sperm donor. They'll just use their skin cells and have their actual own, to combine their DNA into another.
Well, for
DNA.
women, that would work.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes, although
the men would need a surrogate.
I'm guessing that you could also grow a uterus inside a man.
Oh,
if you
dear.
Well, if you were
anything's possible.
If you were transsexual.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there you go. There. So, we're going to find a way out of this sooner or later, and only the wealthy, of course, will survive, but the wealthy are the ones who are not having children, so that's a good thing. No, what? How does that work again?
Well, not having children...
Maybe the people who are having lots of children and not creating all these hideous Frankenstein chemical... culture are going to be the ones who survive. Let's hope so.
A low birth rate amongst the developed nations also creates the opportunity for more disposable income, which then
will be spent on stuff that destroys the planet.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. It's a wonderful thing. And I remember meeting he was a world-renowned public health specialist. So to do with sort of health of societies, and he said you don't have to educate a woman you don't have to spend a lot of money on education for women if the object then was that people have been talking about this for years, that India, they need to have a lower birth rate. That was, colonialists said that. Let's talk about Mali. Well, let's talk about Mali. It's the highest birth rate of all. He said, you don't have to have this whole thing of setting up schools, and all you have to do is make contraception available to the women, and they will use it. That was
instead of the idea of educating women and empowering
right. They don't
women,
have
and
to
they'll make
learn
a decision.
Homer. But if you go to them and tell them what this thing does, you will have fewer children. If you use this thing, they'll go, great.
Well, Ronald Reagan, didn't he reduce the use of the distribution of contraception in Mexico? I remember
Sure, of course.
they discontinued that under the Reagan.
Yeah.
I'm getting that, spitting that out. But
Just anyway, so there you go. That was the end of the show. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our listeners and our callers. Thank you.
Just one more thing.
Oh,
I just want to say last word, and that's for Sally. I do get the last word.
she just
dear.
left the building, so she's not going to hear you. But say it anyway.
My power is reduced.
Your power is reduced. You feel emasculated. KWMR does not take a stand on any of the issues discussed on Let's Talk. Opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts and callers and don't necessarily reflect the views of KWMR, its board of directors, underwriters, or members. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Paul.
And I just want to say how sad I am at the passing of Richard Kirschman. Did you know he died?
No, yes, I did.
Yeah.
It's true.
And my condolences to Doris. That must be a terrible thing. He was always fun to see around town. Ah, well. Here we are. We're not getting any younger. Okay, thanks, everybody. We'll be back next Thursday. Bye.